So I had a series of visions in 2015, and I'd spoken on Anita Fuente's radio show about these. She had dreams and visions on Wednesday night, and I felt like I had expressed myself, but I still need to talk about these dreams and visions because I see a lot of people talking about them recently. And for a moment there, I thought, well, maybe I was just tired or going through a stressful time. It was right before I had moved that I had daytime open visions, which I have had 2 or 3 dreams and visions in my life before, which actually came true, like a car accident and meeting somebody and other stuff. But there were, daytime ones where it just comes with a feeling and you're not asleep. So this is, haven't had one for 10 years or so, and I was just in my living room in Northern California and having a rough time, and I saw myself suddenly transported to Los Angeles, California. And I was standing at La Brea tar pits, where I had been as a child on field trips. I haven't been there forever. But I was there, and I was looking at the tar pits, and there was black creatures manifesting out of the tar, flying in the air. And they were, looked like dragons, and they had tails with like a hook on the bottom of them. And they were grabbing people with this hooked tail, stabbing them. When they were stabbed, they were like dead and flying away. So it was pretty dark. I didn't get good visuals on that, but I could hear screaming and these things flying out and people running to and fro. And I was just standing there kind of like watching. I wasn't affected by it. And then it was like my eyes could see. And so at the same time, I was shown like a swarm of ants, black ants, army ants at the southern border. And they were just swarming, so many. They were crossing the border to California. And when they arrived over the border like a swarm, they turned into people, and they were an army. I was given a word from the Lord, hate and envy. In this envy army of foreigners that had come over here envious and angry, storming their way into the country because they were jealous about our lifestyle and hadn't improved their own countries and had that lifestyle where they lived. They were coming over. And the worst part was they were coming with hate, and hate was intermingled in this southern border army swarm, and it was ISIS. Every single one of them was dressed, all these people were dressed in black robes and hoods, and like the Aladdin or something type pants. And I kind of wondered, they were had curved giant swords, like larger than a machete, more of a Middle Eastern Turkish type thing. But they were chopping up people, and they were enjoying it, and the people were terrified. And I was thinking, why does this army not have guns? Isn't that like more effective? But they all had these curved knives, curved swords. And the people that were dying, being chopped to pieces, none of them were asking forgiveness or help me, Lord. Actually, every single person said the same phrase. They said, I thought I had more time. I thought I had more time, as they were dying, and like they were angry at the Lord that they didn't have more time. And so the dragons were flying around, killing people, and this army was chopping people up. And then I was taking an overview of the earth, kind of like floating over the earth, and I could see the ring of fire. Every volcano on the face of the earth was exploding, And Hawaii was blown off the face of the map. I seen around Washington was exploding up there. There were fireballs raining from the sky, and all this was going on. And the only one that I detected was not exploding, and it was actually a safe zone, was Yosemite. Every other volcano was exploding. And so the swarm army was making it past Sacramento, and they were stopped at north of Sacramento because people had guns, and they were able to repel this army. But the army made fast speed, over 800 miles in less than a day. They were moving on foot and just chopping, dicing. It was pretty disturbing. And then, because I could feel the feelings of the people. I could feel they were terrified. And I also could see the expressions of the soldiers. They were really happy that they were killing people and that they were scaring people. They were like feeding on the terror. It seemed like they were demon infused. They were like a people, but they were a demon army. Like the gates of hell had opened or something. And so then the next part, a flood came. I was taken to the top of a mountain, Northern California, overlooking like the Pacific Ocean, and a flood came. And it wasn't like a tsunami that's like a wave that comes over in a circle, but it was like water pushing, and it was 1,000-foot wall. So I detected that if you were over 1,000 feet, that you were safe from this water. And what was happening was the Lord was showing mercy, and he was washing these armies back, and he was removing them like the children, like Moses, when they were saved from the army being washed back by the water. It looked just like that. And then that was the end of that vision. It was about a week later, and I got another one. And so these dark clouds rolled in, and they were thick, they were palatable. The first thing in the morning, the skies were orange. In this vision, everything was orange, and except for the dark clouds, and they were rolling in on the horizon. They were coming in from the south, from the equator, north, and people at the equator had no kind of warning time. But the farther time zone you had north of that, you had some warning as these dark clouds were coming. And in the dark clouds, you could feel energy. It was alive, it was thick, it had sustenance. I was picking up Genesis 1. In the beginning was darkness. So a lot of the stuff was like going back, history repeating itself or something, and I was picking up that time was that of the end. And so these clouds were rolling in, and it brought 3 days of darkness. I remember being in the house, and it was just me and 2 family members. There wasn't a lot of people, and it was scary. I got a feeling to be afraid, but not to fear for my life, to stay in the house, but to be afraid to go outside, and to be afraid to open the windows and the doors. That would be a bad idea. And that I also got like really deeply, even if you hear someone knocking on the door saying, I'm a family member, I'm your best friend, like your closest person, I'm sorry, but it was saying like that's probably not even them. Just don't open the door. You can't go outside for these days. I detected there was no power, no electricity, and laundry. But we had some candles, and candles were fine and available, and so that was comforting. We only had a few, so we were using like one at a time, and we were making it through, and we were safe inside. And then I had moved. I moved up to a house that was over 1,000 feet in elevation after I had those visions. I was really disturbed by that, and I didn't want to be in the area I was in. I was shown blood all over the streets after those armies came. I was shown that some parts of the Northern California would be erupting into civil war. People were fighting each other. And so I went up higher, and I was having a dream. I wondered more about those clouds rolling in and that substance and that orange sky. And so this wasn't a daytime vision, but I had a dream in my new house that was about 1,500 feet in elevation. And I sat up in my bed, and I was 7 years old, and the stars were falling, and I was looking out the window, and I was like in a white gown. I remember the white gown, because I don't wear a gown to bed, usually t-shirts and stuff, shorts. But I had this gown on, and I was a child, and all the stars started falling. Now, I was woken up by a trumpet. I heard a trumpet blow, and so I looked out the window, and I was a child, and all the stars were falling. And I had a feeling like when your father's coming home, and you just have better have been good because he's on his way. And so I thought to myself, oh my gosh, my father's coming. I hope he approves of me. And the earth was rotating when it started spinning upside down after the stars fell and the trumpet blew. But in my room was stability. So I was looking out the window, and I was kind of waiting excitedly but a little nervous for my father. And I looked out the window, and I saw Russian army soldiers wearing metallic outfits, uniforms, kind of like skin-like metal with different digital things on them. And they had wolf heads, and they were in teams of 8. And they couldn't smell me because I was a Christian, and I detected that believers in John 3:16 would not be ravaged by these wolf soldiers. They wouldn't be able to be seen or smell or known, but you still had to stay in the house and be very quiet. But they were 4 in a downstairs and 4 upstairs, house to house. They would come in instantly, 4 on the bottom, 4 on the top, whatever access they could get, ravage everything like a pack of wolves, and then move to the next house. I saw them circling my fence around my yard in their metallic outfits, and heard the like Russian talking. And so they were mostly going by smell, and it seemed for some reason they were able to smell sin, and they were hunting sinners, and they were ravaging them with their claws, and then going to the next house. So my house was passed. I saw them diligently smelling the gates and things, and they went on, thinking that some other wolves had been there. And that was pretty scary. I was hoping my daughter would be quiet and children in the house. While I was looking, I was the only one looking. Everyone else was just kind of safe in their areas, being calm, and I was the one like knowing what was happening and just taking care of the situation. And after that, it's hard to say this, but there was like a giant that stepped over my house. I lived on a mountaintop, and the house was a 2-story, and a giant just stepped over it and put his foot on the ground and kept going. So for some reason I detected that there was giants roaming the earth, and they were eating people. So I don't know. I just know it was true in my spirit. And so that was about it. Oh, no, wait. The last part and the most important part was that was all going on, and we were hoping we had enough candles and everyone would be quiet, and knowing that there was judgment going on outside. And then it was about 3 days. But the 3 days I kept getting mixed messages if it would be 40 or 3. But you needed to have food, you needed to have water. That's why I kind of knew what was going on, because I'm a mom and I always have to take care of people. So I had the situation under control. I had some supplies, and after 3 days, I turned into like a ghost and floated up through the ceiling. And I didn't know what that meant or what that was, but it was like I was leaving. And I was made of light, and it was I was just wearing all white, like a gown. Okay, well, take care. I hope this helps people if they've seen any visions like this, and to just know not to be afraid, that the Lord will allow us to go through this and have people in our homes to testify to that the Lord is the Savior, He's the protector, and He's the avenger. So part of this is judgment, but those that belong to Him aren't coming under judgment. They're going to be shown as true believers in God, proving that the Lord is real. And so it's quite horrible, and it's quite awesome. All right. God bless.